Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langai Girim Yatkripa Tamham Vande Shri Gurudin Tarine Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So starting with the second chapter, we'll be doing the continuation of how Arjuna was feeling. He was totally in distress. He had given up his bow and decided not to fight. And in that situation, the second chapter is starting. It starts with Sanjay speaking. So first chapter starts with Dhritarashtra speaking, and the second chapter will start by Sanjay speaking. So please repeat after me. Tam tatha kripaya vishtam
Tam tatha kripayavistam
ashrupurna kulekshanam
Ashrupurna Kalekshanam
vishidantam idam vakyam
Vishidantamidam Vakyam
uvacha madhusudana.
Muvacha Madhusudana.
Translation. Any volunteers who would like to read the translation?
Yes,
Okay.
I can read.
Ansh will read the translation.
Okay.
You can read the purpose. Yes.
Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words.
So now Sanjay is seeing the situation of Arjun, and then he's saying, okay, in this situation, Arjun was, and now Krishna is going to speak to Arjun. So what he'll speak, we'll read in the subsequent shlokas. In this particular shloka, the word Madhusudan is being used. So we'll read in the purport a little bit more about explanation. So you want to read the purport? I cannot hear.
Yes, I can read.
Yes.
Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real life. Compassion for the eternal soul is self realization. The word Madhusudan is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a droning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. uh, One who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Hare Krishna.
Great. Thank you. So here in this particular shloka, we see that Sanjay is speaking about Arjuna's condition, and he says that Krishna is about to speak. The word used for Krishna is Madhu Sudan. Madhu is a demon, and Sudan means killer of the demon. So Krishna had killed this demon Madhu. So that's why his name is Madhusudan. So Arjuna is saying, just like you killed the demon Madhu, similarly you kill this demoniac confusion. In fact, Sanjay is saying that Krishna will kill this demoniac confusion which is actually affecting Arjun negatively. So Prabhupada explains here that material compassion, lamentation, and tears are sign of ignorance of real self. So compassion is good, but compassion only on the material realm is incomplete and actually is coming out of the ignorance of the real self. So who we really are, we, as will be explained in Bhagavad Gita subsequent shlokas, that we are not this body, but we are spirit soul. If we are spirit soul, then the compassion has to be for the soul as well, not just for the body. Compassion for the body means just thinking that we are this body, but compassion for the soul means compassion for both body as well as soul, not that one is independent of the other. If you are actually compassionate for the person, then you will actually be compassionate for everything. Like, for example, Prabhupada gives an example of drowning man. Somebody is drowning in water. So, in the middle of the ocean, somebody is drowning, and then somebody on the boat or the ship or the helicopter comes and wants to save this person, and then this life-saving people, they go there, they come out, but they come out and they say, oh, we have this shirt of the drowning person. So okay, shirt, what is the point of the shirt? Where is the person? The person we don't know, but we have the shirt. Is that very good? Well, that is not very helpful, because the person is the real thing which you had to save, but we saved the shirt. Don't you give us credit? Yeah, we give you credit for saving the shirt, but it's not very much. Saving the person gives you the maximum credit. So similarly, if we are compassionate to any living entity, we have to not just be compassionate by giving them, bodily demands or necessities, but also help them spiritually, because both material and spiritual needs have to be met for the person to really be able to become happy, satisfied, and blissful. So it is very important to understand that we are not just this body, and one who only thinks they are the body, that mentality is of not a very high class person, that is of a low class person. Low means they are only concerned about bodily needs, and such person is called a Shudra. And in this day and age, practically everybody is Shudra only. We all are Shudra because we only are concerned about our bodily necessities. But if one is able to advance spiritually and understand that we are going to continue to take care of the body, but also we have to understand that we are caretakers of the body and not the body. Just like we have a car, we have a home, we have this dress, all these belong to us, we take care of them. Similarly, this body also belongs to us and we take care of the body, but we are not the body. So this mentality is actually a wise mentality. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, they are wiser than Shudra to understand this. Arjun, of course, was Kshatriya. So Kshatriya means they have to be advanced both militarily, administratively, and also spiritually. So they should be knowing better and should not lament like what Arjuna was lamenting. He was feeling very sad, even though he had done all what was necessary. And Prabhupada is taking the opportunity to explain about this chapter, the second chapter. And what is he saying? He's saying in this particular chapter, there will be analytical study called as Sankhya. This chapter is also called as Sankhya Yoga, where they will actually be analyzing the material elements, the soul, the body, things of that nature. And this will be in subsequent shlokas. Um, any questions, comment, or any points from the shloka anybody has? Okay, we'll go to text 2. Please repeat
Uh,
after me.
so, Prabhuji, one question that comes to my
Yes.
mind is if there is so much mention about what Shudras are capable or required to do, what Kshatriyas are capable or required to do, does it have implication for caste system or not?
So you can choose to be in what category you want. It's not based upon karma, but it's based upon the values which we hold sacred. So caste system generally is based on birth. You are discriminated based upon what birth you are at. You may be excellent. We see that a person who may be born in ordinary family goes on to become a great scientist or a great politician or a great teacher, president. So many things we see, but in caste system, it is inappropriate uh, application of these teachings which are there in the scriptures. So caste system is something which we don't accept. We reject it actually. In fact, ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada used to be very much attacked by those people who were into caste system. So many times ISKCON is actually looked down upon because they say, "Oh, you are making Brahmins even to those who are, Americans or Europeans or those who are not Hindus, for example." They also were giving, um, they were
Mm-hmm.
they were also giving hard time when Prabhupada was initiating women. They were saying, no, this is not, Gayatri Mantra is not to be given. So, like that,
Mm-hmm.
ISKCON is always attacked because of this, because the teachings of Bhagavad Gita is not based upon bodily designation, but actually
Mm-hmm.
understanding that everybody is spirit, soul,
Mm-hmm.
part and parcel of the Lord. So this is different from caste system. If we see examples of great personalities like Vishwamitra Muni was not Brahman before, he was Kshatriya, but then he
Mm-hmm.
upgraded to become a Brahman. Or there were
Mm-hmm.
personalities who were similarly not necessarily Kshatriyas, but they changed.
Mm-hmm.
They were born in Brahman family, changed to Kshatriya. So this was quite common that one's identification will be by the values or the character or the occupation or their intention this way. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Because we'll see in subsequent shloka also Krishna says Chatur Varnam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that I have created this system based on guna and karma, not
Mm-hmm.
janma. There is
Okay.
no mention of janma. So that
Mm-hmm.
is very, very wrong to categorize people based on their birth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next shloka. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Anavacha
कुटस्त्वकश्मलमिदम्
कुतश्चत् कश्मलम् इदम्
विषमे समुपस्थितम्
विषमे समुपस्थितम्
अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यम्
अनार्यजस्तम् अश्वच्यम्
अकीर्तिकरम् अर्जुन.
अकीर्तिकरम् अर्जुन.
Okay, translation. Any volunteers who would like to read the translation? Okay, Anshul, read.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the values of life. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy.
Okay, so this is how Krishna is starting, and what is mentioned here? It is mentioned Shri Bhagavan Vacha. When Vedvyas is writing, he is not saying Krishna Vacha. He said Arjun Vacha, Sanjay Vacha, Dhritarashtra Vacha, but he is not saying Krishna Vacha, but he is saying Shri Bhagavan Vacha to point out that now it's not some ordinary person speaking. Now is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the Supreme Person who's going to speak. And how is he starting? He's actually looking this particular situation. uh, First he heard the whole chapter, he was patiently listening, which is very important. Anybody who's counseling, one of the things when you do as a counselor is to hear the other person, and Krishna is the perfect counselor. The full one chapter he gave Arjuna to continue to speak, and now he is going to respond because Arjuna asked, or he basically surrendered in one way. And now Krishna is saying, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not fitting somebody who knows the value, and they'll not take you to higher planets but actually make you infamous. So this is how Krishna is starting. So we'll see how Krishna speaks further, but a little bit of explanation of why Vedvyas has mentioned Shri Bhagavan, why Krishna is being said Shri Bhagavan, that is being mentioned here. So we'll read the purport. Any volunteers who would like to read the purport?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagwan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, this conception of absolute truth is explained thus: Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti prameti bhagavan iti shabdayate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These three divine aspects can be explained by an example of sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is a preliminary student. Oh, 1 second. Um, and Okay, one who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the pervasiveness and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of Paramatma, feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of sun planet is compared to those who realize personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the absolute truth are the topmost transcendentalists, although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another. And yet the students of three different phases are not in same category. Hare Krishna. Is it?
Hare Krishna. So it's a long purport. It has a lot of sections, but let's discuss what we just read, just because it becomes a little technical here. Is that right? Is it okay we
Yes,
discuss?
Prabhuji. Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
great. So here the example is given of the sun. So sun is one, but to see there could be different aspects which you can approach. One is the sunshine. So if you go outside in the noon, or when in a in a hot place where there's a lot of sun all around, so you may not even be able to see the sun, right? You'll have only light, because as soon as you put your eyes up, it's going to be so much brightness and effulgence that you can't even see the sun, right? But you are seeing sunlight everywhere. So you're seeing the sunlight everywhere. That is one aspect, but you don't yet have the uh, audience of the sun actually. But from another aspect, one may be able to get the audience of the sun. One can see the sun. Okay, which direction is the sun? Is it here or there or where? So that is localized. You've been able to localize, but it looks two-dimensional, looks like a disc. And then with our gadgets and our different ways, or with scriptures, we know that it's actually like a globe, and not just an ordinary globe, but globe full of fire, right? So we know more and more about the sun in that way. So three different aspects are there. Similarly, we can take some other examples, like an example of a train. Somebody who may not have ever seen a train, right? And then this person says, okay, we'll take you to see the train. So said, okay, I'll follow you. So the person who doesn't know how a train looks goes. So there are three people. All three of them don't know how the train looks. And one of them has a friend, and this friend says, I know how the train looks, I'll take all three of you. So they say, okay, we'll go. And then they are on the train station, or four of them. So he said, when will the train come? Says, it'll come. And then it's evening, night time. So then a train is coming from there, from outside. So then the person who was familiar with the train, he says, oh, there's a train coming now. So these three people, they are looking, okay, yes, the train is there. But they only see the light of the train. It's all dark. They're only seeing the light coming from the train. And then one out of the three person, he says, I have to leave because I have to pick up my son from, his soccer match. So he goes. He says, okay, I'll pick it up. I've seen how the train is. It's just like light coming out, right? And then he leaves. The other two are still there. And then the train comes a little closer. So then the second person is able to see, the other two are able to see that, okay, there is a light, but also there is an object which is moving and coming. Then the second person also goes. He says, I have to go because I have to, pick up my son from swimming. So that person also goes. So then the third person, he actually stays. He says, no, my son will be picked up by my wife, so I don't have to go. So he sees and watches the train. So he sees the light, he sees the train actually coming, and then he sees inside the train there are people. There are different seats. There is all the arrangement for people to actually stay inside the train for days. So now out of all these three, all three feel they have seen the train. But one of them have seen the train, all the aspects of the train. The second person has seen limited aspects, and the first person had only seen a very few aspects of the train. Similarly, the sun example which we were giving, that the sun, light everywhere, one person can see the light, the other knows that, oh, it's actually localized, it's like a disk. But the third person, he has seen the sunlight, he knows it's a disk, but he goes closer with all his, knowledge and gadgets and stuff. He says, oh no, it's actually a globe, it's not just a disk. So these are different gradations of knowledge. Another example. So three children are there. The father says, okay, I'll take you to see the mountain. So they say, okay. And then they are going to see the mountain now in the car. And one of them sees from a distance the mountain looks like a what, inverted triangle, or a triangle, sorry, sitting on the earth. And it looks, oh, triangle which is like brown color. Okay, so brown color triangle. So one child understands a brown color triangle, and then that child sleeps. Then second child goes a little closer. He sees, okay, it's not just brown color triangle, actually it is a little bit green also, because I see some trees. By that time the car is closer, and that child sleeps at that time. So he's seen some brown color triangle, but then there's some green also. And the third child actually goes inside. He sees, no, it's just not, triangle with a color. It's actually a place, has roads, has, animals inside, monkeys I saw, different other. So it's all. So all three are seeing the triangle or the mountain, but they are getting more and more understanding based upon to what level they have gained the knowledge about it. So we took the example of a sun, we took the example of a train, we took the example of a mountain, and now understand what this example is corresponding to in this particular shloka. This is corresponding to the three realizations of the absolute personality of Godhead. The absolute supreme Lord can be understood as a power. He's like a power, it's like a light, it's like an energy present everywhere. That energy which has the power to control everything, that is the energy of the Supreme. And that is called as the first level of realization, called as the Brahman realization. Brahman is the supreme energy, supreme Lord, spirituality which is present everywhere. So that is the Brahman understanding, which is impersonal. It's not a person, it's impersonal in that sense, because it's energy. Second realization is Paramatma. Paramatma means it's actually localized and is present in everyone's heart. With every Atma is a Paramatma. We have also heard Bhagwan zarre zarre mein hai. So that zarra zarra, every single speck or simple atomic particle, we see electrons, protons, going around the nucleus. They have nuclear energy. So all this is actually presence of Paramatma. It's not just in the Atma, but actually in every single atom, in the form of Shiro Dakshai Vishnu is present as Paramatma. So that is the localized aspect of the Lord. So first is the Brahman aspect, which is there everywhere. But along with the Brahman aspect, there is localized Paramatma also. And the third and the highest realization is the Bhagwan realization. Bhagwan realization means, yes, the Lord is present as Brahman everywhere, is present as localized Paramatma in every single atom and in every living entity, but it's also present personally in the place where he is loved and cared, and he can have loving reciprocation. There is a reciprocation of love which he can relish with those who love him, and he loves all the living entities. So that aspect of personality, who's a person who has with whom we can have exchange of emotions, exchange of love, that personality is called as Bhagavan. That is called as Bhagavan realization. And that Bhagavan is present where he is loved, and he is present in this material world also and in the spiritual world also. So this is Bhagavan realization. So this is there in the scriptures, that these three different realizations are there, and depending upon the level of the practitioner, we see different practitioners practice in different ways. There are some people who practice connecting with the Supreme as Brahman, who is impersonal, Nirakar. He is existing everywhere like a Shakti, like an energy. He doesn't have personality. So that is one aspect which some people are connecting to. Another is meditating on the Paramatma. Yogis, big yogis, Ashtang yogi and different other yogis, they are actually meditating on the Paramatma within the heart. And the devotees who are actually understanding that yes, he is actually there having his impersonal aspect, he's also there as Paramatma localized, but he's also personally present where I can have loving relationship and reciprocation of love. That is the Bhagavan realization. So this way different spiritual practitioners practice spirituality based upon the realizations to which they have access to. So that is being explained here. And because Krishna is personally present as somebody who is reciprocating with the emotions of Arjun here, he is Bhagavan, he is the topmost. So this is the understanding of what we read so far in the purport. Does it make sense? Is it giving some insight to what is being talked here?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anybody has any doubt or any question or any aspect which is unclear? Okay, we'll continue to read. So, the absolute truth is realized in these three phases of understanding of the knower by the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Basically, all of them are the supreme. Just like sun is the same, the understanding of the person may be different. Mountain is the same, the understanding of the person may be different. Similarly, Supreme Lord is the same, but understanding of the practitioner may be different depending upon how advanced they are. Okay, same thing with the with train, or same thing with the sun example. So I think we read till here. We have to do from Sanskrit, right? This is where we have to read from, correct? Yes, I'll read. The Sanskrit word Bhagwan is explained by the great authority Parashar Muni, the father of Ved Vyasadev. The Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all fame, all strength, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Dananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. He is primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Okay. So here it is talked about Bhagavan realization. Now, what is the meaning of Bhagavan? Prabhupada is explaining Bhagavan means who possesses opulences. Opulences. So, what opulences does Bhagavan has, what are the opulences which he possesses. So Purashar Muni has written a scripture in which he explains this. He says, one who possesses all the wealth of the world, one who has all the strength which exists in this whole creation, all the wealth, all the strength, he has all the fame, everything is coming from him. So who can be more famous than him? He is actually the source of all fame. He is the most beautiful. In fact, anyone beautiful we see, that beauty is coming from the Supreme. That is the beauty of Krishna. And he is all learned, all the knowledge of all the scriptures is from him. And in spite of all of this, he is not attached, he is completely detached. That's the beauty. He is not proud, he is completely lacking any pride. So that is the extent of the greatness of the Supreme. People say God is great, but they don't really know how God is great. So this is the greatness which is explained by Parashar Muni. And then it is explained that even Lord Brahma is stating this in Brahma Samhita about Krishna. What is he saying? He is saying Ishvara. Ishwar means controller. There are so many different people who are controllers. But Param Ishwar, Parameshwar, Param Ishwar, Param controller, highest controller is one, and that is Krishna. And how is he? He is Satchidananda. He is spiritual. He is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. Anadir. He has no beginning. Sometimes people say, oh, everything has a beginning, so God also must have had a beginning. So that means you don't know what is the definition of God. God actually means who is the originator of the time. He is the source of the time. Time factor controls past, present and future. But who is time? That is Krishna. So he doesn't have any beginning. From him everything begins. And he is the cause of all causes. Everything which is happening, why it is happening, we'll see that Krishna is actually involved as cause and of all causes. In Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Lord, but Krishna is described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations, personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chamsa kalahapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it is explained that there are so many incarnations of the Lord. They list many of them. And then they say that it's actually, we can't even count how many incarnations are there. But who is actually the avatari? So all these are avatars, but who is avatari? And that it mentions Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna, you are actual Supreme Lord, from whom everything else is coming. All the list of incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of plenary expansions of the Supreme, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the list which is given, they say, okay, some are incarnations, some are plenary expansions, some are parts of plenary expansions. And this is avatar or incarnation is a science actually. There are different categories of incarnations. So that is something which Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, these scriptures give the whole list and explain the science of incarnation. But here it is mentioned who is the one from whom all these are emanating, that is Krishna. That's what is mentioned in Bhagavatam. So we saw Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji is saying, then Bhagavatam, Ved Vyasa is saying. So we'll finish these last two paragraphs. Therefore, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the super soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise when the word Kutaha, where from, such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of the life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagwan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjun was Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from the duty does not help one progress in spiritual life, nor does it even give one opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjun for his kinsmen. So here it is mentioned that Krishna is referred to as God or Bhagwan because of all the above reasons. And then what is Krishna saying? He's saying, Kutaha, where from? How did these impurities have come upon you? Like for example, a child who always get 90%, 100% marks. If that child is not able to solve something which is very basic, which the child should have done, then the father says, oh, how have you become like this? You can't even solve this, but you were able to do it. So how come? Where from? So that is how Krishna is saying that you are expected, you are like ace, and now you are getting an F grade by your behavior. That's not good. So that is how Krishna is basically asking, where from these impurities have come? You are a Kshatriya, you are an Aryan. Aryan means one who is knowing the value of life, spiritually advanced. Anaryan. Anarya means one who has forgotten the spiritual knowledge. So that person is Anaryan. So he's saying this will lead to anare jushtam aswargyam akirti karam Arjuna, that all this will lead to akirti, infamy, aswargyam. You will not get higher planets. It's actually going to lead you to problems. You're deviating from duty, kartavya, apne dharma और kartavya से you are deviating. That's not encouraged or acceptable. So this is how Krishna opens up with his interaction with Arjun, and because he has that relationship with Arjun, Arjun is actually understanding. We have to see our relationship with the other party, and then accordingly we can be choosing the right words by which we can be able to relay or make that connection. So these are few thoughts from this particular shloka. Anybody would like to add or share any points or comment? Any?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
I have a confusion actually.
Yes, please.
In Vishnu Puran, Lord Krishna has been called out as the 8th incarnation of Sri Vishnu, and Brahma Samhita. So author for both of these, I guess, Puranas are Parashar Muni. So why is there a conflict here? In one Purana, he's called as the incarnation, but then in other scripture, that same author is calling him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So the author of Srimad Bhagavatam is Ved Vyas, and Brahma Samhita is basically spoken directly by Lord Brahma. Now, talking about, is Krishna an incarnation of Vishnu? Vishnu incarnation of Krishna? It's actually not very difficult to understand that Krishna and Vishnu are actually the same person. So what is the difference then? The difference is just like you may be the same person, but you may have different moods. You may be working in your profession, and at that time you may be focused on your work. You may have a different mood. When you are at home with your family, with your children, you may be, very casual, very light, very nicely engaged in, fun activities. So you may have a different mood over there. And somebody who may be a student, part-time student, part-time working, and still having the family. So there are different roles in each of these situations which one is fulfilling, so that makes one in a different mood. One may be a big politician going and doing rallies and telling, but then may come home and play with the child or the grandchild, and the grandchild may be sitting on top of the grandfather who's a big president or a politician. So in different roles one's mood is different. So actually Krishna, Vishnu, Ram, Narasimha, they are all same person, but they have different moods. When their mood is actually in the official manner, yes, they will be Vishnu, officiating the creation, how it has to work. And in that role, they are very occupied with that particular service. On the other hand, the role of Krishna or the mood of Krishna is actually the enjoyer. He is enjoying with his friends, his devotees. He's like at home. Like a mother at home is taking care of the children, father at home playing with the children. Similarly, Radha and Krishna, they are actually father and mother at home. They are actually engaging in loving service with the children. Now for this material creation, who is the highest? We can say Lord Vishnu is the highest. So from that standpoint, different incarnations actually come through Shiro Dakshaya Vishnu to this particular creation. But in their original planet, in the spiritual world, all these incarnations are already there. Avatar means one who descends, who comes. So one who descends and comes means originally that person is already there in the spiritual world. It's just coming here in that particular time, in that particular situation to execute a particular service. But that person always exists. It's not that Krishna, Ram, Narasimha, they were not existing before. They all exist eternally all the time. But they present or descend in this creation by their arrangement or their schedule from different time to time. In that way, they descend through the, like for example, a company may have or a school may have a principal. A principal is the head, but then chairman of the school who comes and visits that school is even higher, right? So in this particular creation, it's coming from Mahavishnu, who is the officiating incarnation, officiating form of the Supreme Lord. And the incarnations may come as somebody who doesn't know those incarnations, say that they are his incarnation or they are forms of Lord Vishnu, and that is totally okay. There's nothing wrong in that. But original form from whom initially Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu appeared, because Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, they are the forms which are meant for this material creation. They are not the forms which are there in the spiritual world. The spiritual world, they are actually the spiritual forms, and out of the different planets, to the extent where the intimacy with the Lord can be highest, that decides which is the highest spiritual form. So with Krishna, the intimacy can be highest. With Lord Ram, Lakshman is, or Hanumanji, they are always very respectful. But with Krishna, there is no such respect. The friends of Krishna, they will jump on Krishna's head. They will play. They forget that he is God. There is no, with Vishnu or with Narayan, there is a lot of awe and reverence. So where there is awe and reverence and respect, there the intimacy gets less. This we are talking about at the highest level. We don't have such level of purity to play with Krishna in that way right now. But with Krishna, he is available to have all the different exchanges. One can even love Krishna as one's lover, as one's child, as one's friend, as one's ultimate companion. But with Narayan, with Vishnu, with Ram, the relationship is more respectful and formal, because that's how the mood is for them. So this is the understanding of the scriptures. Does it make sense, Mataji? Is it giving some idea?
A little bit. So if these are different moods of Lord
The same
himself,
person?
why is only one form considered the Supreme Personality and not all of them? Because they're the
No, they're
same
all Supreme
person.
Personality of Godhead. If you remember in the Bhagavatam, we were reading Kapila also as Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even Narsingha, Rama, they are Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when we talk about how the scriptures talk about avatar and avatari, and one where the Lord is showing his maximum characteristics, qualities, that is the form of Krishna, where he is showing all the different qualities to the maximum extent. Nectar of Devotion enumerates all these qualities actually and explain from different sections that how the supreme personalities, which includes so many other incarnations of Krishna, how in different forms different characteristics are highest. And in Krishna's form, this is actually shown at the maximum level. And that's why if you say the Virat Roop or the Vishnu Roop or others, they are shown by Krishna, not by other incarnations, if you see. Because in Krishna particular original form, it's actually completely full. But other, even though they are the same people, but they may not necessarily display those characteristics or qualities in that manner. So the intimacy is more. It's a detailed topic, and I know some devotees who had this confusion for years, but as they started to read the scriptures, their confusion and clarification actually get more resolved when they actually read it from the scriptures. For me, it was never a big doubt, because in one sense both are the same, and it's very easily understandable that scriptures are saying that in one mood he's displaying all his qualities, and in another he's displaying a certain qualities which are necessary for that service. Like for Lord Vishnu, you will never see Lord Vishnu is actually having friends with whom they are playing, and the friends are eating prasadam and giving it to Vishnu or Narayan. Or even Lord Ram, not that much. Shabri, of course, did it, where she ate and then put it in the mouth of Lord Ram, and he's glorified that, oh, he ate the bear of Shabri, which is great. But at the same time, with Krishna, the cowherd boys regularly did this. They'll eat a laddu, they'll be like, oh, this is sweet. Krishna, you like it. Ta! Krishna ke muh mein seedha. And if you see Lord Balram and others, they are putting their shoulder on Krishna, right? With Lakshman or with Hanumanji, they are not putting their hands on Ram's shoulder. They are very respectful. So it's kind of not never was a big hurdle for me or an obstacle to kind of understand. But certainly I know some devotees for whom it was a serious issue, because for many of the years they felt like, oh, Vishnu is the incarnation of Krishna, or Krishna is the incarnation of Vishnu. But to me, we have to take the words from the Shastras or scriptures. And you're right that, different scriptures are sometimes highlighting a particular aspect which is more relevant to their audience, but in holistically speaking, it's not very different because they are the same people.
Yes, thank you. And I don't have a doubt about being Krishna. Is the supreme personality. He's called the Purna Purushottam, and
Yeah,
he's the most personal God anybody could have. And this made sense where you said Krishna was the only one who showed the Virat Swarup and not any other
correct.
incarnation. So it makes sense. I just wanted to clear the confusion that scriptures, different scriptures are presenting.
No,
So
that's very good. It's always good to have this discussion, and you'll see in a lot of scriptures based upon the audience which they are meant for. There will obviously be glories of that particular personality whom they are kind of highlighting, and that's why Bhagavad Puran is not called as Krishna Puran or Vishnu Puran, but it is called as Bhagavad Puran. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is not said Krishna's Gita; it's said Bhagavad, Song of God. So therefore, they are actually talking from the standpoint of what is absolutely highest. Okay.
Just to clarify at
Yes.
this point, so
Yeah.
sorry, I hope not, I'm extending it too far looking at the time.
No, no. Please go ahead.
Um,
Your voice is not very clear. Yes. Tell, please.
oh, sorry, I'm outside. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So just to simplify, based off of all the points that you mentioned between considering Krishna as Godhead and then Vishnu as a different mood and so on and so forth, um, can we say, and I'm just interpreting it based on what you said, can it be interpreted as that Vishnu is a serious form, but Krishna, when it comes to Krishna, is more comprehensive, that he is the owner of all kinds of moods. So he is Virat, who has seriousness, and he has the path shower, the guide, as well as the playfulness. So he has the Bali, that childishness, that that Balavastha, whatever that is, and so on and so forth. So should it be correct way to say that Krishna is more comprehensive as conceived as compared to other forms of Krishna and so on and so forth, or incarceration forms of Krishna, if that's
Yes.
making sense.
Yes, thank you. So some of the part got muffled, so I couldn't hear 100% of
Oh,
it. But what I understood is your essential point, that is, will it be appropriate to say that Krishna is actually displaying God, basically displaying all his different aspect, not just the
yes,
serious aspect of God, but also,
right.
the loving and casual, and yes, absolutely, Krishna is Purna Purushottam, like you said. He displays all the different aspects, and he says in the Bhagavad Gita that the way you approach me, in the same way I reciprocate. Ye yathamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. That in whatever mood one approaches me, if we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, He actually displays and gives us the realization how He's the Supreme. If one doesn't understand that, and one doesn't even believe in that, or one may be an atheist, doesn't believe in God, Krishna gives one's the faith and the understanding that yes, I am not there for you, and you can continue to suffer. And that way, we can decide to the extent we want to have this relationship with the Lord. He doesn't force to us. So yes, Krishna is the form in which he has all the different opulences, and who is full in all aspect. And therefore we see that same Krishna to Mother Yashoda, she felt like, if I don't feel, Krishna will die. That Krishna was so small, so loving, cute, who was scared from the gopis, who were scolding him when he was stealing butter, the same Krishna is lifting the mountains or killing the demons. So yes, that's correct. Okay, so I think we'll end here. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining and wonderful questions and participation.